India's market news headquarters. Cutting-edge analysis. Influential insights. Market-moving intelligence. Broadcasting live from the CNBC TV 18 Motilal Oswal studios in Mumbai.
Good morning. You're with us here on a fresh new edition of Bazaar Morning Call. We are coming to you live this Tuesday morning from the CNBC TV 18 Motilal Oswal studios. I am Prashant. With me, as always, my colleague Surabhi and Nigel. Guys, hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Prashant, you saved the day. We were both missing in action to react to that big non-farm payrolls data, but I guess not too bad the way the market shaped up by the end
There's
of
a bit of a bounce, absolutely.
Yeah.
We just come through.
And there's a launch overnight as well, the Apple phone. Any of you are looking at it?
No.
I'm on my latest iPhone 13.
Me too.
So.
iPhone 13 Pro.
All right, well, let's just quickly run you through what you need to know as we begin a fresh new trading session. And it's looking much better as compared to, of course, the cues that we were handed yesterday morning, right? Because yesterday morning you had a big cut. But, you know, the markets have become, the markets, of course, always collective wisdom, but maybe they become a little more smarter at the edge, right? Friday, the market sold off over 1% and everybody was wondering what was going on. And I think you got the answer with the US session, which was down about 2%. So we kind of paid the price a little bit in advance. So yesterday was not too bad. We had a nice bounce from the day's low, 200-point worth bounce on the Nifty. But I would still say we're in a bit of a tricky zone as far as overall global markets are concerned. I mean, it's not a clear green signal for a sustained kind of rally on the upside. Neither is it looking very weak or the fact that the market perhaps is going to, sell off in a big fashion. So it's a bit of a twilight zone. I think some clarity in a day or two hopefully should emerge. But let me start with, of course, what happened last night. So U.S. markets recovered as well. So you had the S&P, which was up about actually both S&P and NASDAQ were up 1.16% each. So this is a decent bounce. Each and every sector ended higher. 84% of all stocks in the S&P 500 were in the green. The big news flow, of course, was that Apple 16 launched, but Apple was unchanged on this new launch. But historically, it's not as if stocks moved quite a bit on these new launches. We've sometimes seen moves in days post, so we'll see. Dollar index was up 0.4%. And, dollar went up on Friday. Dollar's gone up last night as well. So 101.65 is where the dollar index is at. And I think that kind of talks to 2 points. One, of course, is positioning, which was getting a little oversold. And second, of course, is this, not confusion, but this lack of clarity whether the economy actually is at what rate is the economy in the US weakening? Maybe it's not weakening as fast as what we thought 10 days back. Oil prices went up 1%. We're at about $72 a barrel on Brent crude oil prices. Tonight, you'll have the two presidential candidates in the U.S. elections facing off against each other on ABC News. And I think it's going to be tomorrow early morning for us by the time this happens. But that's going to be an interesting one. Lots of headlines can be expected. And will that I think from a market perspective, will it tilt the favor one way or the other post this particular debate? Remember what happened when Trump and Biden faced off against each other, and that debate performance from Biden was seen to be and was said to be the one which finally led him to step off and Kamala Harris to step up. All right, well, let's just circle back to the levels now. The Nifty yesterday, intraday broke below the 20-day moving average and then bounced sharply, and it was a positive daily close for the index. Near-term resistance is the 40-hourly exponential average, which is 25,026, and then the 25,100 level. We get to some retracement levels, etc. The very short near-term recent fall that we've had, the 61.8 is 25,100. And of course, the high then 25,333. Above that, you kind of really get into some momentum phase, but that's some distance away. The swing low of 24,753 will be an important downside level, which should be protected. For the Bank Nifty, resistance stands at 51,222, which is the 61.8% retracement of the recent fall, the very recent fall. And above this level, you can head to 51,750 for the Nifty Bank. And on the downside, the low of 50,369 is an important level for the market to hold. The Gift Nifty will indicate what the opening is going to look like. That strong local buy the dip bid is always there, and that prevents any dramatic fall. The question, though, is there enough in the tank, so as to speak, for a sustained kind of a move higher? And I think the answer to that is not very clear, at least not right now. As I said, over the next couple of days, perhaps more clarity should emerge. Surabhi.
Okay, absolutely. And I think because of this, the lack of absolute clarity, we're seeing Asian markets pretty range-bound, while they are, of course, reacting to the positive close on Wall Street. But we're not seeing a big rally across Asia. In fact, some of the markets like Hong Kong are slightly weaker. There's trade data that is awaited out of China. The general consensus expectation is that exports will see a rise for the month of August. Exports will see a rise of about 6.5%, and imports will be up marginally as well. So let's see. That's the big one in terms of data Q to watch out for. But lots of news back home. So let me quickly dial back in over here, starting first with the fund flow picture. And it was interesting because yesterday's numbers, we had a buy, a 4-digit buy from both sides of the spectrum, DIIs and FIIs. FIIs bought to the tune of almost just under 1,200 crore rupees. Domestic institutions, buyers of about 1,750 crores. So fund flow is not a problem at all. Plenty of corporate action to track today. Very, very interesting headlines, and we'll tell you more, as our colleagues gear up with the top 10 list. First of all, after all the hype surrounding Ola, we will soon have another pure play EV company list in the public markets, and that's Ather Energy. And Hero is going to be in focus on the back of that. This is a mix of a fresh issue of about 3,100 crores, plus there's an OFS. Existing promoters are going to be selling 2.2 crore shares, promoters and investors. And remember, Hero Moto has about 40% stake in Ather. So therefore, this is going to be an interesting one to watch. Dixon, you've been hearing the conversations that we've had with the management for so long. The name is officially out. The tie-up is with the HP for laptops, notebooks, and, a lot of the other computer hardware that they have applied for the PLI for as well. There's Tata Power, which is starting the production of solar cells at Tamil Nadu. So it's a big moment, obviously, for the company as well in the renewable chain. We'll watch out for any reactions on the stock. And last but not the least, Easy Trip Planners, always hitting the headlines. Now, the company went onto the stock exchange and they said that on the 13th of this month, there's going to be a board meet to consider more M&A. And this is just close on the heels of them getting into the EV space, EV buses, remember. So there's plenty happening. Let's keep our eye out on this. And then the GST meeting could keep stocks a little excited as well. The big headlines didn't come through. So the GST rationalization on insurance, health insurance and life insurance, that'll have to wait till probably the next meeting, which is going to be in November. The larger issue of compensation says that's gone back to a new GOM as well. But for the here and now, there are headlines because the rate on cancer drugs has been lowered further to about 5%. And on Bhujia and Namkeen, if that's what you like, the rate has been slashed from 18% to 12%. So a lot of these stocks are listed, remember, Pratap Snacks and, a couple of others as well. So we'll watch out for them. On car and motorcycle seats, however, there's an increase from 18% to 28%. So some of these GST announcements could keep these stocks in focus as well. So plenty of stock-specific action here anticipated today, I guess.
Well, that's right. So yesterday I was ruining my luck that I couldn't make it to work because of unavoidable circumstances. But otherwise, I was very, very keen to put out that buy on dips thesis. And it appears by the end of it that buy on dips thesis, well, it's pretty much well and truly on and it's intact. But the Nifty now needs to see a follow-through session. Because yesterday the buy on dips worked, we saw a big recovery from the low point of the day. But today we'll have to see a follow-through session, which is going to be very, very important. And you have the Nifty Financial Services Index as well. That will play out its weekly expiry since it's a Tuesday. Now, yesterday there was a bout of short covering that did take place. Besides the strong institutional flows that we did see, we had a bout of short covering, both on the Nifty, which shed close to 5 lakh shares odd, and the Nifty did pop up from the lows. And we had the Nifty Bank as well that did see a bit of a short covering bounce that played out. And for me, the Nifty Bank now needs to come to the party. And yesterday did a relative outperformance and it bounced back very, very strong. So the Nifty Bank for me holds the key from here on. Keep in mind in the last 1 year or so, the Nifty Bank has been a relative underperformer. If you look at the Nifty Bank in comparison to what the Nifty has done, well, it's been a relative underperformer in comparison to the Nifty. The Nifty is up close to 25%. You'll pull up the Nifty Bank, well, that's up close to 12 to around 13% odd. So from here on, the Nifty Bank will have to lead the way. And yesterday it showed good signs of seeing a bit of a bounce back, but it needs to protect the recent lows, which is extremely crucial. So let's tell you the numbers on the Nifty Bank then. The important mark to look at is yesterday, well, it went to these lows, so you don't want this level. This is the line in the sand, around 50,300, very, very important. We managed to cross the 20 DMA yesterday. That's why I said it was a good bounce back and trend, but we need to get past the 50 DMA. And the Nifty Bank is the one that's going to be the driving factor from here on. Moving to the options data on the Nifty itself, well, in a market that bounced back, you want to see put writing. And that's precisely what we saw. 24,900, 24,800 put, 24,700 put. All of them did see a fair bit of open interest build up. Moving to the Nifty levels then that we're looking at closely in today's trading session. The 20 DMA, well, that was conquered in trade yesterday, which comes in at around the 24,850 odd mark. So that's the important mark that we did cross yesterday. The lows as well needs to be noted, and the 50 DMA. So all these three are the support zones for the Nifty. Till we're holding above this 24,600 mark, you'll have to say that uptrend is pretty much intact. Well, as always, let's do a hygiene check on how the FIs as well as the clients are placed. The FIs, well, they're yet still net long. But, they've unwound quite a bit of the long positions in the last few days, close to 90,000 contracts low. So holding at around 1.5 lakh contracts, 66% of their positioning is on the long side. While the clients, they are short, but not very aggressively net short. It's more or less in that vicinity of around 40,000 contracts on the short side. So we're going to see a positive start, but let's see where we go from there. A follow-through session is what we're looking forward to.
All right, Nigel, thank you very much for that. Well, let's get you some calls now. Mahesh Nandurkar of Jefferies is weighing in. He says that the chief economic advisor has raised the debate of whether headline inflation or core inflation should be used for policy making. If this debate leads to softening of the broader banking policy environment, it may cause a turnaround in the fortunes of lagging banking sector stocks. The potential negative impact of rate cuts driving net interest margin compression and EPS cuts would likely be more than offset by easier liquidity and easier banking sector regulations. They remain overweight banks and financials.
Okay, let's move on macros. Shantanu Sengupta of Goldman Sachs says resilient domestic growth along with elevated food inflation has kept the RBI from easing policy rates until now. They're of the view that RBI will ease by a total 50 basis points going forward. That is 25 basis points each in December of this year and February next year on the back of easing food inflation and slowing growth.
All right, well, that's the macro market call coming in on inflation. Well,